Today on Easy RC Planes, we're going to talk about drones, quads. In this case, a FPV quad. If you don't know, FPV is first-person view. We won't go too into that. If you want a course on that, there are good sites online. But we have a very, very inexpensive quad here that we were able to buy on Amazon. It's the TCMMRC X220S. Now, keep in mind, you will see this one elsewhere listed as e-sheens, etc. The parts in it are used in many others, and you'll see slight variations on it. But this is a good, easy one. It's very inexpensive. You don't have to worry too much about crashing it. You're not spending, $1,100 buying it. Looks like right now on Amazon it's running $116.66. I'm not going to do a full unboxing. Ooh, I'm unboxing it. I'm just going to show you how it works. Comes with 4 propellers. In this case, they're purple. I kind of like the purple, so that works. If you don't like purple, you're not going to like this drone, but because it's purple. 4 decent propellers, and of course, because this is a 5-inch drone, you can buy 5-inch propellers and change it up all you want. But we're just trying to get into it relatively inexpensively, something that if you do crash or break it, you can replace the parts, unlike the cost of replacing them on a DJI or more expensive one. 4 pads for putting under the arms. I'll show you that in a minute. And a mount for the RunCam 3 or a similar GoPro camera, which can be strapped to the front. Move that out of the way. Here's the actual quad itself. That doesn't come with it. Here's the quad itself. It has the straps for the battery. The camera has a little lens cover. That's what the camera looks like right there. Set that down. Now in this case I've installed the receiver, but I'm going to show you the actual installation of the receiver as well and how that goes. But there's not much to it, folks. This one is really simple. We're going to have a link down below that's going to show you where to buy this drone, where to buy the receiver, which is right back here. I'll show you more detail in a second. And where to buy the goggles, which we'll talk about in a minute. This drone is meant to run on a 4S battery. Let me grab a 4S. In this case, I just have an inexpensive 4S 2200. It should sit beautifully on there. It should add to the weight just right. It shouldn't be too heavy, but you also don't want to go super light and have low run time. 4 motors with the single bolt style connector for the props. It also comes with the VTX, which is your video transmission system, and in this case it comes with this beautiful, and you can buy a different one. It's just an SMA connector, folks. You can buy different antennas if you don't like this antenna. And you want to put this antenna with a little bit of a bend to it so that when it's flying forward, this drone is going to have a fairly level antenna. You don't want to have it, angled in a funny way. If you had it forward or something where it was like this, it would not give you the best transmission. That's about it. Not a lot to say on this drone. It has a controller built in. Nice thing about the controller is it has a plug, and I don't know how well you're going to see this, but I'm just going to show you anyways. It has a plug at the back that accepts your receiver, and your receiver, which I have here, I'm going to pull it out a little bit, bear with me for 1 second. Can I get it out of there? The receiver that we bought, again linked below in the description, has a plug and comes with the wires already. Now this plastic you see is the shrink wrap, which we will shrink wrap before we're all done. But this is the receiver, quick and easy. This receiver comes with 2 leads, 2 antennas, a longer one and a shorter one. In this case, the short one's going to work fine. We're going to tuck that in. You want the antenna hanging out the back just to give you a little room away from the carbon fiber, because carbon fiber does not allow radio transmissions through it very well at all. Construction of this is mostly carbon fiber with aluminum bracers, which are cleverly anodized purple so that they match real good, with the purple braid here and the purple motors and even a purple camera. It's good and solid. I don't know the millimeter thickness on these, but they are not going to bend with 5-inch propellers. They're really, really good. Bolted through. The leads coming off the motors are zip tied on already for you. This is about as solid as you need for this size. It's not going to flex. When you get bigger, you'd probably want to go with thicker. But in a 5-inch like this, it's not going to flex at all. It does have LEDs on the bottoms, and it does have LED rows on the back. I'm not really myself concerned with LEDs. I'm more concerned with how it flies. And that's the important part when it comes to this. We'll go over setting this up in Betaflight and getting the receiver mounted down. But first, let me show you the goggles that we went with that were good and inexpensive. These are the Beta FPV VR03 FPV goggles. They're not the most expensive out there. In fact, they're some of the least expensive, but they work and they work well. And again, we're not trying to get you the racing drone. You're not going for a championship. You're just trying to get flying with the drone in FPV. Set the box aside. Goggles are really straightforward. They won't come with these straps already attached, but they're easy to attach. The power is right here on the side. You slide it over. You'll notice it's flashing an odd little thing right now. And you'll be able to sync it up to the drone by telling it to do a channel search. But I'll also show you in Beta FPV where you set your channels for your drone, so you could actually program the channel into this. Or you can just do channel search. The drone works on standard channels. It's not that hard for it to find. They'll sync up together. Next thing you know, you'll see the image that's coming through from your drone, assuming you have your drone powered up. This Betaflight goggles come with an antenna on the side here, and I do want to note that, of course, it works perfectly well, has pretty good range, but if you really want to extend your range, all you have to do is unscrew this antenna. It just takes a little bit of work here, and you have an SMA connector in here. There you go, SMA connector. Anything that has an SMA male can connect up to it, so you can buy your better antennas and put them on here. It's not hard to do at all. It gets you a little bit better range. This is probably fine for what most of us are going to do, but if you're going to try and fly a little further away from yourself, or if you're in an area, maybe inner city, where you're having problems with keeping a good connection between your video and your goggles, you can buy a different antenna online on Amazon. You can get them as inexpensive as $15, $20, all the way up to $50 or $60 if you want a more expensive one. So these are the Betaflight VR03 goggles. And again, they're a good pair for inexpensive first-time users. At some point, you're going to get better goggles if you stay in the hobby. But for now, these will do the job very well from Betaflight. Just going to give you a real quick overview now. I went and strapped the receiver in down here. The receiver comes in a little package like this from Amazon. It's the HGLRC receiver. I will have a link to it below for the exact model number on it. It is an ELRS receiver. It's right in here. It's little tiny, smaller than a postage stamp, with the antenna hanging out back here. It is ELRS, so in your transmitter you will want a binding phrase. I'll show you how to set a binding phrase in the receiver. You can do that through Betaflight online, which is where we'll go next. Now that we have this semi set up, we need the props off because we're going to plug it into a computer, hook up Betaflight. And when we're hooked and connected with Betaflight, we're going to go through all of the settings, most of which are preset. You're fine with those. You can tune and tweak all you want later. Initially, the way it's set up mostly is going to be just fine. The only thing you're going to have to do is make sure you have an arm/disarm switch, and we'll go through that. Let's get into plugging it in. You have a computer and a USB-C cable. You take your USB-C cable, plug it right into the side of the controller. You'll see the light comes on. Now I'm going to do a recording of this so you can see what I have to do on my computer screen. All right, now that we're going to hook it up to the computer, and I'll give you the recording of what it looks like through Betaflight, but you want to hook up a 4S battery. This is a 4S 2200. Doesn't matter the milliamp hour for this, we just need it to be a 4S so that we can see it. Actually, a 3S does work to test it, but you don't want to fly on a 3S. But when you hook this up, you'll probably want a short saver. We'll have a link below as well to that, but it's a little piece that goes in line and it stops the big spark that can happen when this goes and gets connected. You'll also want to make sure, this is vital, that you have the antenna screwed in for your video transmitter, your VTX antenna, and that your antenna is on your receiver. If either of those get plugged in without them on, they will try to transmit, and when they try to transmit, they will damage themselves without an antenna. Make sure you have those on. Connect up, and you should hear some noises when this happens. There we go, it's connected. Let me show you how you do this, the rest of this in Betaflight. All right, when you connect to Betaflight, you're probably going to find that it doesn't connect up right away. I'm going to show you how to connect up. You're going to want to download a driver. We have the link. It's the ST Micro Devices STM32 driver. And when you come up here, you're going to see, instead of, whereas mine already says Betaflight STM, you're going to see where it says can't find my USB device. Click on that, and once, if you've already installed the driver, again, it'll be in my link, you'll see the Betaflight STM32 listed right here, and you just highlight it, hit connect. Once you're connected like that, at the far right, just hit the connect button that shows the little USB icon, and there is our drone, a representation of our drone, and it knows, if I wiggle it here, it knows, because of its gyro, where it's facing. Forward, down, rearward, down, left and right pitch, roll. It knows all of that because it's reading that from the gyro in the drone. So that's a good sign already, the fact that if you take it and tilt it around, it knows it's moving. If you spin it on your table, it knows it's spinning around. You'll want to come in and you'll want to probably go through a much more in-depth video on Betaflight at some point. But there's a few things you want to look at. On the port side on the left, you'll want to make sure your UART2 is set to serial RX. That's for your receiver. If it's not set to serial RX, your receiver's probably not going to work. That needs to be clicked as you see it here. Everything else should be fine just the way it is, the way you see it. Don't even worry about that. If you come into configuration, you'll see a lot of information about gyro update frequency, accelerator trims, all of that. Most of these can absolutely be left just the way they are. Everything works fine. It's not a big deal. You can come in later and fine tune. You can watch another video. Maybe I'll post one. If not, if we don't post one, there are plenty of them out there that you can go to that are much higher end for racing drones and etc. This right now, we just want to get you going. Let me come through and click on the receiver. As we click on the receiver, you'll notice that we have roll, pitch, yaw, throttle, and then all the aux channels. The important thing is that under receiver, you see where it says serial via UART. Make sure you've got that. If you haven't, just drop down here like I'm doing and click on it. Telemetry should already be checked for that because this receiver will send telemetry. At the very least, it'll send its signal strength to your transmitter, or to your goggles, I should say. Both your transmitter and goggles will show that signal strength. In the modes tab, you've got the first two. First one is arm, second one is angle. You want to make sure that the arm tab is set up, and you're going to want to make sure in your transmitter that you have a switch set for the arming switch. It right now is set on aux 1. You could set it on something else. There's a drop down here and go all the way through aux 12. In our case, it's set on aux 1. And I'm going to power on the transmitter, and we'll go through and let you see what it looks like when I flip the aux 1 switch. I'm going to down. There we go. Okay, we're going to pause the audio recording because I don't know if it bound or not. In this mode screen that we have open here, there's an arm section. And if you'll notice where my mouse is, there is a little yellow dash. And then over here, there's these sliders. In your transmitter, you're going to need to make sure that when you flip your mode switch, in this case I'm using aux1, when I flip the arm switch, it goes into the area that's yellow here, and it turns red immediately, telling me arm is disabled. Notice one way, notice the other way. That's how you need it to be. It has to look that way. Now your angle switch, your angle is controlled by the next one down that clearly says angle. It's really easy and straightforward. I've got it set on my aux2, which is right here. aux2, I have it set up. It's a 3-position switch. It's on in position 2 or 3. I'm going to set that up so it's on with all positions and off when it's on the first position. You really want to make sure you've got that set correctly, because if it doesn't go into angle mode, it's going to be on full control on you at all times. That angle mode can help you because you can release the sticks and let it just hover in one spot, especially if you're a new FPV pilot. What this will do is it'll limit your bank angle, and there are settings in here which you don't have to adjust right now, but you can later, that will adjust how much bank angle. It'll allow how much pitch forward and back. This is kind of like your training mode, if you will. It limits you a little bit, and it's very good for beginners. You need it or you'll crash, most likely. But once you get further along, you'll flip that switch off and you'll be able to go and fly in full mode. That means rolls, slips, anything you want to do. Acro will allow you to do it all. But you don't want to start in acro mode, you want to start in angle mode so you get used to it. By the way, I highly recommend starting with a simulator online. You don't want to lose a bunch of drones, you want to start by simulating. As far as online simulators go, we personally use Uncrashed. It's our favorite, but we'll give you a link to a few of those down below. Uncrashed is only $11 or so on Steam, depending, price may go up or down. As of the recording, it's not expensive. You can go onto Steam and get it there, and you can hook it to your transmitter and do a little bit of flying around with the actual transmitter you're going to use, which segues us to our next segment, the transmitter. All right, folks, here we have our transmitter. It's the Radiomaster Boxer Crush, which is currently on Amazon or on Radiomaster's website running $199.99. Sometimes it does go on sale. You absolutely do not need one this expensive, but we wanted this one. We have other transmitters. We really wanted this, so we went and got it. But any ELRS transmitter should work just fine for you. Radiomaster just seems to be our preferred radio, both in the other modes as well as ELRS radios. Let me open this up. It comes in the nice box, which is a semi-firm, semi-soft case. Velcroed in so it's safe, with gimbal protectors so that it doesn't get damaged. And when you pull these off, you will find that this is nice and snug, and it has a really good feel to pulling those off. Let's pull this out. There's the small antenna. Never ever turn on a transmitter without the antenna hooked up. Anything that has an antenna, don't turn it on without the antenna hooked up. These gimbals are very good. I'll get to talking about them in a moment here. ELRS radio, it comes in multiple colors, blue, yellow, pink. This one happens to be white.
Welcome to HTX. Throttle warning.
It'll warn you if the throttle's up. It has full voice, so it can talk through anything that you want to set in there. It's beyond the scope of this video to go through all the settings in here, but there are good videos online for it, and we may publish one in the very near future. As far as this goes, these gimbals have the really good, really spiky ends on them. If you're a pinch controller, they feel good. If you're like me and you use thumb, they feel very good. This transmitter uses EdgeTX as its software in it. It has all the same controls that all EdgeTX have, very similar to any other Radiomaster, even the ones that are not ELRS. ELRS radios have an incredibly good range for drones, much further than we're ever going to use this small drone today at, but definitely go 5 to 10 miles, possibly more with the right antennas, but suffice to say, you're not going to go out of your range if you've got this transmitter and the receiver we showed you. You're more likely to go out of video range and lose your goggle signal and not be able to see. On the back of this, you'll notice there's a module here. It's a standard JR module that you can plug in and use it for something other than just ELRS, or you could even get a Gemini module, which does crossband. Just as a side note, while we're back here, it does not come with batteries. You'll probably want to buy a battery. In this case, I bought a lithium ion 5,000 milliamp hour to go in it. But you can also use 18650s, and it comes with a tray for two 18650 batteries. And those work just fine. I just thought, why not go with a lithium ion of 5,000 milliamp hours if I can? On the front, as we've said before, it's basic Radiomaster setup. 2 position switches on the outside, 3 position switches a little further in, your potentiometers here, dual knobs, your trim adjustment.
Trim center. Trim center. Trim center.
Connection for your lanyard. And then the terrific AG01 gimbals from Radiomaster. These are, in my opinion, the epitome of the world's greatest gimbals. These are the great AG01 Hall effect gimbals from Radiomaster. They're made from pure billet aluminum. They obviously have removable, like every gimbal should, or every stick should, they have removable and height adjustable pieces on them. You can buy different colored knobs for them if you'd like. But these are the smoothest, most beautiful, full machined aluminum Hall effects gimbals I've ever used.
Smooth gimbals, billet aluminum, ASMR.